Uh, the first thing is the CXOs are buying solutions. Order size is large. It takes 6 to 9 months, even 18 months to from start to finish to sell the whole lighting solution or a medical equipment to a hospital. However, what has happened in the last few years is CXOs are very much aware through digital age of the latest technologies and information which exists worldwide. And when we are going and selling to them, they are saying, fine, but this ratio or this technology you have in that country, so why don't you bring it here? So they have become more demanding. In that context, the pressure is on brand loyalty or demands from companies or the brands. Although it's more difficult to shift brands in B2B because the risk is very high. Reputational risk as well as the risk of money. But to add to what Apurva said, the way to crack brand loyalty in B2B is for marketers to shift the focus more from pre-sales to post-sales. And that's our experience. Whether we are selling lighting equipment or medical equipment, it is after sales is when you add value to your customer. So I'll give two examples. If, let's say, I've sold an MRI or a PET MRI, CT scan worth crores to a hospital, but after sales, if my salesperson, my after-sales service people are going for two reasons. A, they provide excellent after-sales service. Then it's very likely that the same customer is going to buy the same equipment in the chain of hospital the next time. The second thing, what we call clinical support. The same equipment can be used for multiple diseases. If I'm going there with my experts and teaching the doctors in the hospital how to use the same equipment for multiple uses, then their usage of the equipment goes high, which means they get more money out of the equipment. So just to summarize, in B2B marketing, brand loyalty is less under threat, but yes, it is under pressure. And perhaps two ways is to focus on after-sales service and how you can give knowledge to the customer and actually increase brand loyalty years later when 3 years down the line is going to buy or look at a product.
I just wanted to add to that. I think it's no longer, and it never was, that people are buying products or they were buying brands because of what you put on an advertising film out there or anything like that. They are fundamentally buying a level of customer service. They're buying an experience. And I mean, we as a consumer brand, Hindustan Times, we also have a very large segment which is the B2B marketing, which is advertisers that we go to. And I am also a consumer of B2B services. And in both of them, increasingly you're looking for service. So 63% that you talked about is not brand and the rest of it service. That service is really the brand that I'm buying. And that service is what we are giving to sales. And more, if marketeers are able to understand that service is what they're fundamentally delivering, that transcends, where I think many of us said, that transcends over a period of time the concept of whether digital age or whatever. If you're authentic and you're delivering good quality service, that's something that digital age or any other disruption doesn't really change.
I think absolutely, and the experience will last for a longer time versus the communication itself. As Apurva was saying, in the B2B space, if the sales process itself has so much importance, then I think a lot of brand communication is happening through that process. And how much attention you pay to that process, the first interaction, the second interaction, the follow-ups, and the quality of them will make or break the final deal. Right. Vivek, the next question to you, and then as earlier, please feel free. A lot of people are experiencing products or forming their opinions on websites. They go to an app, they look at products, pictures, they try to find information, and a lot of pre-decision or the decision is being made at that point of time. In such a situation, what is the relevance of an exclusive brand store kind of a concept, where you invite people to walk in and browse through products and then eventually buy? What are you seeing? Is the traffic falling? Is it same? Is it increasing? Is it showrooming happening? People are doing online, offline, both. What are you seeing there?
So yes, it's true that consumers are researching online and buying offline, a lot of them. But it varies across categories. So let's just take one category, electronics or appliances. What's happening there? a lot of consumers, especially young consumers, are researching in detail on online. And there is a segment of consumers there who are looking for deals, and when they get the deals, they buy online. So there is pressure on exclusive brand stores in terms of how much they can sell through the stores. So consumers walk in there, they ask for demonstrations, and then in the same store, they are looking at their phone on the app and checking Flipkart prices and discussing and then telling the salesman that this is the price I'm getting, what will you give me? So there's a pressure there, of course, to get the money out of the investment you have made in the store. There's definite pressure. I must say that, but there are solutions around that as well. Now, I will quote a study which I read recently, and the two things which stood out for me. One is that Indian consumer is still more comfortable if he can get buying face-to-face from a person than from online. And he wants the reassurance of a service or person to tell him that, look, I am there. And if you go to a store, you will see that these are very psychological lines used by our dealers. They say, "Main hu na," service ke liye or iske liye. And consumers, they switch brands on that basis. That's one aspect. Second thing is that it is the research-based data that around 60% of consumers, after researching online, they want to buy from a store. They want to buy. They may not end up buying. And the reason they don't end up buying in India is because they still don't have data available, which is the nearest store to them, which is stocking that SKU or a brand, which they have selected. And often that is not available. And this is where the opportunity lies. So when I said in the beginning, marketers haven't caught up, it is in this area they haven't caught up. I think we have to use this insight that Indian consumer is still very physical and he wants a face-to-face. Therefore, when you have your own exclusive brand stores, you can actually have your own in-store apps, okay, which can give better consumer experience to the consumer when he's in the store. The store itself can talk to the consumer and say, this is my deal, this is the service I give, etc., etc. The second thing is, when a consumer is searching online, sitting in the comfort of home, he should have very easy and quick access through a map as to which is the nearest store, stocking that SKU, with what price available, how far is the store, and how to get there. And often, what we call the dealer information on the websites is not updated, is not very good. So if this area we improve these two things, we can drive consumers more back to exclusive stores and can have a good relationship between online and offline. But right now, I will conclude by saying this pressure.
Okay. What are you?
I have an interesting perspective.
Or, as your experiences, what do you think?
I have an interesting perspective on it. I think the challenge for product marketers and service marketers is on extreme sides of the axis. So the challenge for product marketers, when a lot of showboating is happening, people are saying online, buying offline, is how do you add extra intangible which is on the services side to the product? And Vivek spoke about after-sale service as a great example. So if you buy a Mercedes AMG, you become a part of the AMG club. If you buy a Harley Davidson, you become a part of the Hogs. So on a product brand, how do you add the service intangible, which stops people from looking offline or just going after price? For a services brand, it becomes very important to add tangibles to the service quality. So when you see a HCL proposal, when we are responding to RFP, if you remove the logo, can you still make out that it's a HCL proposal? How do you add tangibles to the service, which makes it a very unique customer experience? And a lot of marketers miss this trick. So when you talk about people not buying from brand outlets and just buying on the basis of price on an e-commerce site, I think it's a very commodity mindset. And marketers should introspect, CMOs should introspect, and really think about what are they doing to their brands. Are they really selling brands, or are they just selling commodities? If everything is price and people are only buying on price on Flipkart, I think people need to introspect because they're missing a huge trick here. Brand is all about building that intangible differentiation. So that's my perspective.
No, very fair point.
Just to add, brands, finally people are comparing prices across websites and comparing across products in a particular website or going then to the Junglees of the world and then comparing across websites, going to sites like hotelscomparison.com and then looking across hotel booking sites, which is cheaper. But the brand loyalty, I think, still doesn't go away. When you get, there are people increasingly who are looking for the same product. I mean, across
platforms.
websites. You're looking for the same Taj Group hotel because I am loyal to Taj, therefore I will go and find my Taj hotel at the cheapest possible price. Or I am looking for my particular phone brand, whichever it is that I want to buy, where do I get it cheapest? That doesn't take away the brand loyalty, nor does it, for example, in FMCG products, where when the big stores came, the supermarkets came, brands like Dettol, brands like Harpic, which I've worked on for years, people said it'll just become a store brand, which will be what consumers buy. But fundamentally, people still need the reassurance of a brand that they can rely on for their family and so on, which is the brand loyalty that they're
that trust,
wherever they're buying, whether they buy it at a Sainsbury's or a Tesco's.
Can I add a little point? I think intangibles are important, but I think they are becoming less important. So I will put my neck out and say that, because I think intangibles work in some categories, and in some categories they don't work at all nowadays. Consumers are able to see feature, price in detail, and they're able to, there's a segment of consumers who don't care about intangibles. So I think there is a responsibility of marketeers is to look beyond just logo and brand building and communication, and we have to focus on real innovation. The task of marketing is not just in, of course, you should build some differentiation, perhaps it's in service. I believe now the pressure is so much that we have to go back, take a step back and do what marketers are really supposed to do, is to have a pipeline of fantastic products. Because unless you have a product which is different and does better than the others, consumers won't choose you. So you will be in commodity market. You can take mobile phone category. Apple. Apple as a brand is built on fantastic product and experience. But first it's the product. Okay? And what made brand loyalty for Nokia go away? Because they did not innovate in some segments. So I think the core is we have to go back and bring out new products which consumers can anticipate. I'll give one example. I don't want to make it a Philips. For example, this year we have launched air fryer. Okay, so in kitchen appliances, that's something unheard of. Now, that's innovative, so people are loyal to that brand and that segment. But the task is beyond intangible. If I may differ a little bit,
absolutely.
Task is beyond image building, and task is even beyond service, because service can also be at parity. It is ultimately what will win you in loyalty game is the product, and that is where the hard work lies.
Okay, before I move to the next question, Suparna, how are you doing on time? Okay, cool. So let me quickly. Shantanu, on the digital side, as the content becomes always on, people can go search for news whenever they want to, there's always on content. How are you dealing with that as a media house? You see challenges, you see opportunities.
I think there are, like in every other category that we talked about, it can be seen as a life-threatening calamity, or it can be seen as an outstanding opportunity. And it is how marketers deal with it. You can say, this is the time when people will stop reading my newspaper early in the morning. Or you can say that I have an opportunity, as I said, not just reaching out to my consumer once, but being available with them around the day on your app, on your social Twitter feed, and so on. So we see it as a huge opportunity. In fact, we are in the process of building a huge digital newsroom across our media brands, because we are experiencing the power of one-on-one communication.
And interacting with the readers versus just
some of our readers
serving them news.
Some of our readers email in to many of us on a daily basis. The editors are on Twitter with some of their customers. Mint, for example, has 5 times more interactive consumers on their brand and on the physical brand.
I think
it's a great time to be.
So, Prema, last question to you, as an expert in.
And it's still the good old relationships is still a very big thing. And somebody recommending something to someone those are the influencers who influence you. And when you look on Twitter and you look on Facebook and you look at the followers, particularly on Twitter, and you hear some really good stuff on which you are thinking of buying, or you just go to it.
A lot of decisions get made that way. You know, if your friend has bought something,
Yeah.
you feel confident. You know, it's very simple.
Yeah,
So,
that's very, 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 and so we now talk about, not about communities, we talk about influencers as on the subject on which they are. And bloggers are also a great influencer.
Absolutely right,
So
yeah.
these are the big ones. Anyway, so talking about communications, the question, sorry, was?
what do you think should be the communication strategy
Yes.
with the digital,
So,
medium?
The focus is what I wanted to say. The focus, because everyone wants everything. And it doesn't work like that. So we say that, who are you targeting? Let's get that clear first. And what is the result that you want? And do you want them to be influenced, or do you want them to just purchase? Now, also the number of products and services that are available, they are not going to make a decision very quickly. So you have to keep engaging with them. And what we find is that we do games and we do all kinds of things, and apps, of course, and all of that. But if you're going to engage them and keep them engaged during the process of building the brand or sustaining the brand or making the attributes known, it has to be a campaign, even on digital. It has to be very much a campaign. I think too often, people just want everything, and they don't have the monies. So the fact is that they are going wide and not deep.
Not deep, so,
Yeah.
so prioritizing in that sense.
That's right.
Okay, I think, interesting point. We have time for a few questions?
Actually,
Or-
let's see if we do have any questions, or should we skip the Q&A? Any questions, please? Raise your hands. Yes, so we'll limit ourselves to 2 questions, Sandeep.
Sure.
Yeah.
First 2 hands up.
Yes, please identify yourself.
My name is
Ladies,
Ritin.
yeah.
I am from Airtel. My name is Ritin.
Yeah, go ahead, Ritanya.
So my question is more towards the snowballing or the negative brand image building which happens because the customers today have become broadcasters. Case in point being Amul's milk being bad or something happened and say like 1,000 shares happened. Or for my own example of Airtel, where we started unlimited customers, actually we started throttling them. We said, after a limit, we go down on your bandwidth. So Twitter hashtags started saying, #Airtel sucks. So that was like a biggest snowball, and we were like, how do we react to this? How do you